If you changed nothing about your talent, your intelligence, or your background, but only changed your environment, your entire life would transform. And billionaires already know this. Do you billionaires build their success on clear long-term thinking and unwavering focus while eliminating emotional decision-making? And this principle becomes the quiet engine behind every major move they make. When you look closely at how they operate, you notice that clarity is not something they wait for, it is something they create. They strip away the noise, the distractions, and the needless complexity that overwhelm most people. They don't allow themselves to drown in instant gratification or react impulsively to situations that demand patience. Instead, they step back, observe the bigger picture, and act only when the path aligns with their long-term vision. This kind of clarity is practiced, not accidental. They learn to define exactly what they want and exactly what they refuse to tolerate. Their goals are not vague wishes floating in their minds. They are sharp, well-shaped, and grounded in reality. They know that without clarity, every decision becomes clouded, every distraction becomes tempting, and every failure becomes discouraging. But with clarity, their purpose becomes a compass that keeps them aligned even in chaos. This clarity leads to their next strength, long-term thinking. While most people chase fast results, quick wins, and instant validation, billionaires think in decades. They are willing to plant seeds that may take years to grow because they understand that real success is the reward for patience, not impatience. Their minds are trained to zoom out from the present moment and analyze where each decision will lead months or years from now. They are not seduced by trends, emotional reactions, or the pressure to act fast. Instead, they operate like architects, designing their future with intention. Every step they take fits into a larger structure. Even their failures fit into a broader timeline, temporary setbacks that hold lessons rather than reasons to quit. This long-term perspective shields them from making impulsive decisions based on fear, excitement, or frustration. They understand that emotional choices rarely lead to positive outcomes, so they anchor their decisions in rational analysis, not temporary feelings. Unwavering focus is another defining trait that separates them from the rest. A billionaire does not scatter their attention across 10 goals, 20 problems, and 30 distractions. They choose one or two priorities and pour their energy into them with a level of intensity that most people never experience. This focus is not about working harder, but about eliminating what does not matter. They cut off commitments that drain time, reduce noise from people who bring negativity, and simplify their schedule so their mental bandwidth stays sharp. Focus requires discipline, and discipline is something billionaires practice at a level that feels almost extreme to outsiders. They understand that energy is finite, willpower is limited, and the human mind performs best when it is directed toward a single meaningful objective. They guard their focus like a priceless asset because they know it multiplies their progress faster than anything else. This focus also reflects their ability to control emotional impulses. Emotional decision-making is one of the biggest enemies of success, and billionaires know this better than anyone. They have learned, often through hard experience, that reacting emotionally leads to regret, instability, and poor judgment. Instead of letting emotions dictate their actions, they use emotions as signals. Fear becomes a reminder to prepare better. Anger becomes a message to slow down before speaking. Excitement becomes a sign to analyze risks carefully. They recognize emotions but don't let them drive the car. Their decisions are shaped by logic, data, strategy, and clarity, not adrenaline or insecurity. While others act out of frustration during downturns or get overconfident during success, billionaires remain steady, grounded, and rational. This emotional neutrality gives them an enormous advantage during chaos. When markets crash, industries shift, or crises unfold, they remain calm enough to see opportunities others miss. Clarity, long-term thinking, and emotional discipline all feed into their ability to stay consistent. Billionaires know that big breakthroughs come from small, repeated actions. They don't rely on motivation, which is inconsistent and unreliable. Instead, they rely on systems, They create routines that support their goals. They eliminate habits that slow them down. They structure their days to protect their time, their minds, and their energy. Consistency transforms their strengths into results, which compound year after year. They don't give up when progress is slow because they understand that compounding is invisible at first. They trust the process because their clarity tells them where they are going. Their long-term thinking shows them why patience is necessary, and their emotional control prevents them from abandoning the journey in moments of discouragement. Their clarity also gives them the courage to make decisions that others find uncomfortable. Many people hesitate when faced with risk or uncertainty, but billionaires trust their long-term vision enough to act boldly. They don't allow temporary emotions like fear or doubt to cloud their judgment. They gather relevant information, study the situation, analyze probabilities, and move confidently when the decision aligns with their long-term direction. Their confidence isn't arrogance, it is clarity paired with preparation. They don't depend on luck or guesswork. They depend on frameworks they've built over time. Frameworks shaped by learning, reflection, and consistent refinement. A powerful aspect of this keynote is that billionaire-level clarity is not just about knowing what to do. It is also about knowing what not to do. They avoid impulsive purchases, unnecessary arguments, toxic relationships, and environments that drain their focus. They say no far more often than they say yes because they value their time, peace, and mental sharpness. Every no protects their clarity. Every no saves their focus. Every no creates space for long-term decisions. Most people fear saying no because they want to please others or avoid conflict, but billionaires see each no as an investment in their future. Another layer is how they simplify complex decisions. Instead of letting emotions complicate choices, they reduce decisions to fundamental principles. They ask whether a choice aligns with their long-term vision, whether it increases or decreases their leverage, and whether it brings them closer to or further from their goals. This reduction removes emotional clutter. They make decisions without overthinking, without panicking, and without rushing. They trust clarity more than noise. Their long-term mindset shapes their resilience. When setbacks hit, they don't interpret them emotionally. They interpret them strategically. They ask what the failure teaches them, what adjustments are needed, and how they can make a stronger comeback, because they think long-term setbacks feel like detours, not dead ends. Emotional decision-making often leads people to quit too early, but billionaires stay committed long enough to see the results most people never reach. Ultimately, this keynote reflects a way of thinking that anyone can develop. Clarity is not reserved for the rich. Long-term thinking is not genetically inherited. Focus is not a privilege. Eliminating emotional decision-making is not beyond reach. These are skills built through awareness, discipline, and intentional practice. When you begin thinking with clarity, you begin choosing actions that reflect purpose rather than impulse. When you adopt long-term thinking, you stop being shaken by short-term failures. When you sharpen your focus, you create momentum that compounds. And when you stop letting emotions control your decisions, you gain the stability needed to build something meaningful, lasting, and powerful. Billionaires treat relationships as high-value assets, cultivating alliances with intentionality and integrity. And this mindset is one of the most powerful but least discussed foundations of their success. To them, relationships are not casual interactions or social obligations. They are long-term investments that shape opportunities, open hidden doors, and amplify their influence. They understand early in life that a single relationship with the right person can accelerate their progress more than years of effort done in isolation. This awareness makes them move differently in every room they enter. They listen more than they speak, observe more than they react, and identify people not by what they seem to be, but by what values, strengths, and potential they carry beneath the surface. Billionaires know that people can be catalysts for growth or anchors that drag you down, so they choose intentionally who they give their time, trust, and energy to. Unlike most people who build relationships based on convenience, proximity, or emotion, billionaires build relationships based on alignment. They connect with people who share ambition, discipline, and long-term vision. They are drawn to individuals who challenge them intellectually, inspire better decisions, and operate with integrity. They avoid those who drain energy, create drama, or operate from scarcity thinking. This isn't arrogance, it is preservation. They know that the energy of people around them affects their mindset, and their mindset affects their results. They protect their circle because they know their circle becomes a reflection of their future. They recognize that success is rarely achieved alone. It is built in the company of people who elevate you. Billionaires also understand the quiet art of providing value before expecting anything in return. They don't approach relationships with a mindset of, what can I take? But rather, what can I offer that strengthens this connection? They know that value creates trust. Trust creates opportunity, and opportunity creates growth. Their version of value isn't always money. It could be knowledge, connections, perspective, or support during critical moments. They understand that the most powerful relationships grow when both parties feel enriched, understood, and respected. And they build this dynamic long before they ever need a favor. This is why when they do ask for support, people are eager to help because the relationship wasn't built on extraction but mutual benefit. Another distinct feature of how billionaires build alliances is their patience. They don't rush relationships or force connections. They allow trust to grow naturally through consistency, integrity, and alignment. They understand that meaningful relationships take time, and they are willing to invest that time. They don't network in the traditional sense of collecting business cards or attending events just for publicity. They network by observing value, identifying genuine character, and nurturing connections that can last decades. This long-term approach makes their relationships more stable, deeper, and far more valuable than short-lived transactional interactions. Billionaires also master the ability to separate emotions from relationships. They don't get swept away by flattery, affection, or surface-level charm. They assess people based on patterns, not moments. They look for consistency, reliability, and authenticity. They avoid relationships built on emotional volatility or manipulation because they know emotions can cloud judgment and create unnecessary vulnerability. Instead of being emotionally attached to people who hold them back, they distance themselves with grace and clarity. They understand that loyalty should never be blind. It should be earned and maintained through trust and aligned values. A powerful aspect of your relationship strategy is recognizing potential before it becomes obvious. Billionaires often identify talent early, long before the world notices. They see intelligence, discipline, creativity, and hunger in people who may not yet have results to show. They invest in these people with guidance, opportunities, and resources. They become mentors, partners, or collaborators because they understand that rising talent becomes powerful allies in the future. This foresight allows them to build networks that grow stronger every year. They are not interested in temporary popularity. They are interested in strategic alliances that compound. Another key part of how they treat relationships is the understanding that their reputation is a currency. Billionaires guard their reputation fiercely because they know one wrong partnership or one unethical action can destroy decades of work. They remain consistent with their word, follow through on commitments, and act with integrity even when no one is watching. This consistency builds trust, and trust becomes their competitive advantage. Their reputation often speaks for them long before they enter a room, opening doors effortlessly because people know they can be relied upon. They also understand the importance of removing ego from relationships. Ego destroys clarity, creates conflict, and ruins opportunities. Billionaires let go of ego so they can learn from others, admit mistakes, and accept ideas that aren't their own. They don't see relationships as competition. They see them as cooperation. They don't need to prove they're the smartest in the room. They prefer to surround themselves with people who are smarter in different areas. This humility, combined with confidence, strengthens their alliances and makes people feel valued rather than overshadowed. Billionaires are also skilled at conflict management. When misunderstanding, NGS arise, they don't escalate into emotional battles. They address issues calmly, directly, and efficiently. They don't gossip, complain, or drag conflicts out. They resolve them strategically, focusing on solutions, not blame. They understand that conflicts left unresolved create cracks in relationships, and they prefer stability over drama. Their communication is clear, respectful, and forward-focused, which keeps their alliances strong even during challenging moments. Another layer of their relational intelligence is their ability to maintain privacy. They don't overshare their plans, emotions, or vulnerabilities with everyone. They know that information is power, and they share selectively with people who have proven themselves trustworthy. Their relationships are built on strength, not dependence. They maintain boundaries that protect their mental space and strategic decisions. This balance of openness and privacy allows them to build deep connections without compromising their advantage. One of the strongest traits in how billionaires build relationships is that they never burn bridges unless absolutely necessary. They understand that even if a relationship no longer serves them, ending it disrespectfully or emotionally can create future obstacles. They prefer to part ways professionally and maturely, maintaining respect even if paths diverge. The world becomes smaller as you rise, and they know they may cross paths again. Keeping doors open is a strategic choice, not a sign of weakness. Ultimately, the way billionaires view relationships shapes everything about their success. They know that people determine the quality of information they receive, the opportunities they encounter, and the mindset they maintain. They choose friends who inspire growth, partners who elevate their strengths, and mentors who sharpen their thinking. This purposeful approach to relationships creates a network that becomes a force multiplier, turning small efforts into massive results. Their success is not built alone. It is built in alignment with exceptional people. Billionaires prioritize asymmetric opportunities, high upside with controlled downside, by taking calculated long-term risks, and this principle becomes the invisible engine behind their extraordinary wealth. They do not chase every opportunity, nor do they fear risks the way most people do. Instead, they train themselves to identify situations where the potential reward is significantly greater than the potential loss. This mindset allows them to make bold decisions with confidence because they are never betting blindly. They are positioning themselves where even a small win can compound into something massive, while a loss remains manageable and temporary. This way of thinking is not based on luck or intuition alone. It is based on analysis, research, pattern recognition, and a deep understanding of how value grows over time. Every billionaire you see today has mastered the art of asymmetric bets, whether in business, investing, technology, or personal development. Most people avoid risk altogether or jump into opportunities without truly understanding them. Billionaires do neither. They treat every opportunity like an equation. They break it down into variables: market potential, timing, competition, scalability, and most importantly, downside protection. Before saying yes, they ask themselves how much they could lose, not how much they could make. If the worst case scenario is recoverable and the best case scenario is transformative, they move forward. This balance gives them a psychological advantage as well. They are not paralyzed by fear because they have already evaluated the worst possible outcome and accepted it. This frees their mind to focus on execution rather than worry. Their calmness under risk is not natural bravery. It is built on preparation. An asymmetric mindset also means they are willing to look far into the future. Many opportunities don't look attractive in the early stages. They seem too small, too uncertain, or too unconventional. But billionaires understand that small seeds can become massive empires if the potential is multiplied over time. They train their vision to see beyond what something is and imagine what it could become. They invest early while uncertainty is high and the price of participation is low. This is why they often enter ideas before they become mainstream. They are searching for possibilities, not guarantees. Guarantees rarely create massive rewards, possibilities do. Their willingness to embrace uncertainty combined with disciplined analysis allows them to ride massive waves of growth that others miss entirely. Another defining trait of their approach to asymmetric opportunities is patience. They do not expect immediate payoff. They know that the biggest rewards often require time to unfold. They are comfortable waiting months, years, or even decades for a decision to show its full value. This patience amplifies the power of compounding. While others get frustrated or abandon their plans too early, billionaires allow time to do the heavy lifting. They understand that the true power of an asymmetric bet is not in the initial return, but in the compounding that happens when a good decision is allowed to run its course. Their long-term view protects them from being derailed by short-term noise. Billionaires also avoid spreading themselves too thin. They don't chase 10 opportunities at once. Instead, they identify the one or two asymmetric bets with the highest potential and commit deeply. They pour focus, resources, and energy into the opportunity with the best risk-to-reward ratio. This level of concentration allows them to fully capitalize on the upside instead of gaining small returns across scattered ventures. Focused asymmetric risk-taking leads to exponential results, while scattered efforts dilute the potential impact. Another key part of their strategy is learning from failure. Billionaires face setbacks, but they use them as data. When an opportunity fails, they study it without emotional distortion. They look for flaws in timing, execution, market conditions, or assumptions. They use this knowledge to refine their criteria for the next opportunity. This learning loop makes their future decisions sharper and more accurate. They do not fear failure because failure becomes a teacher, not a threat. Every loss becomes an investment in better judgment. Over time, this judgment becomes one of their most valuable assets. Many billionaires also diversify their asymmetric bets, not by investing randomly, but by strategically allocating energy into different types of opportunities: business ventures, real estate, startups, intellectual property, emerging technologies, and even personal skill development. Each of these carries asymmetric potential. A few may fail, some may break even, but one or two can create massive returns that overshadow all others. This intentional diversification creates a portfolio of possibilities rather than a portfolio of guarantees. Their wealth is often built on the idea that one great decision can change everything. Another powerful aspect of their mindset is that they invest heavily in their own skills because they know self-growth offers the highest asymmetric return. Improving decision-making, leadership, emotional control, or specialized knowledge increases the value of every future opportunity they encounter. They know that the most profitable asymmetric bet is on themselves because the downside is minimal and the upside is infinite. A skill learned once can create value for a lifetime. They also understand the role of timing in asymmetric opportunities. Being early gives them ownership, influence, and leverage. Being late forces them to compete with the masses. They study trends, industries, and behavioral shifts to anticipate where the world is heading. They position themselves before the wave rises, not after it crests. Timing allows them to enter with low cost and high potential, magnifying the asymmetric nature of their decisions. Billionaires also avoid emotional attachment to their bets. If an opportunity no longer makes sense, they exit quickly and cleanly. They don't cling to outdated strategies out of pride or fear. They treat opportunities like tools, useful when they serve their purpose and replaceable when they don't. This detachment keeps them flexible and prevents them from making emotional mistakes that could turn manageable losses into destructive ones. Another layer to their mindset is their ability to leverage resources. Leverage, whether financial, technological, relational, or intellectual, turns small bets into massive gains. It gives asymmetric opportunities their power. Billionaires leverage other people's expertise, other people's time, and sometimes other people's capital to expand their reach. Leverage minimizes effort while maximizing outcome. They use systems to scale results far beyond what any individual could achieve alone. Ultimately, billionaires make decisions differently because they see risk differently. They don't ask whether something is safe, they ask whether it is worth it. They don't fear uncertainty, they fear stagnation. They don't avoid risk, they avoid decisions where the potential gain is small. Their wealth is the result of repeatedly placing themselves where the upside is massive, the downside is controlled, and time amplifies the reward. This mindset is accessible to anyone willing to think beyond short-term comfort and analyze opportunities through the lens of growth, leverage, and possibility. Billionaires operate with a level of emotional mastery and strategic learning that quietly fuels every major decision they make, shaping their behavior, their relationships, and their long-term success. Emotional intelligence for them is not a luxury or a personality trait. It is a requirement for survival in environments filled with uncertainty, pressure, and high stakes. They know that emotions are powerful forces that can cloud judgment, distort reality, and derail progress if left unmanaged. So they cultivate the ability to feel emotions without being controlled by them. When they face fear, instead of reacting impulsively, they treat it as information. Fear tells them where the limits are, where risks lie, and where preparation is needed. When they face pressure, instead of collapsing under it, they use it as a sharpening force. Pressure reveals their weaknesses, tests their discipline, and helps them strengthen their strategic thinking. When anger arises, they do not explosively react. They step back and observe the underlying cause. Their self-control does not come from suppressing emotions, but from understanding them deeply. This level of emotional mastery allows billionaires to remain calm in situations where most people panic. Markets crash, competitors attack, deals fall apart, and yet they maintain a steady mind. This steadiness is not natural, it is trained. They develop emotional resilience through repeated exposure to difficult situations, tough negotiations, failures, and high-pressure decisions. Over time, their threshold for stress rises. What feels overwhelming to the average person becomes manageable to them. This makes their decision-making sharper, because clarity emerges when emotions do not hijack the mind. They can analyze problems with objectivity, weigh outcomes rationally, and move forward with confidence even when the path is uncertain. Their emotional discipline keeps them from making rash decisions during excitement or destructive decisions during fear. Their emotional intelligence also shapes how they interact with others. Billionaires understand that leadership is not about being loud or aggressive. It is about reading people accurately, responding strategically, and guiding them with clarity. They can sense when someone is insecure, confident, manipulative, genuine, or uncertain. They use this awareness not to exploit people, but to navigate complex human dynamics with precision. They choose their words carefully because they know a single emotional outburst can damage trust or weaken their influence. They understand when to be firm and when to be flexible. They know when to push someone and when to give them space. This intuitive understanding of human behavior is one of their greatest strategic advantages. Emotional mastery links directly to their approach to learning. Billionaires do not treat learning as an occasional activity or a way to collect information. They treat it as a lifelong strategic tool that keeps their mind adaptable, innovative, and powerful. They know the world evolves quickly, and that relevance is earned through continuous growth. They read not for entertainment, but for leverage. They consume ideas that enhance judgment, refine decision-making, and deepen understanding. They focus on learning that compounds, skills and knowledge that can be applied across multiple areas of life and business. They study psychology to understand behavior, economics to understand systems, technology to understand future trends, and history to recognize patterns that repeat themselves. Everything they learn serves a purpose in their long-term strategy. Another part of their learning mindset is humility. No matter how wealthy or powerful they become, they never assume they know everything. They remain open to new viewpoints, new methods, and new information. They ask questions even when they already know the answers, because they want to see how others think. They seek advice from experts, mentors, and people with completely different experiences. This humility keeps their ego from blocking growth. They understand that ego is the enemy of progress because it prevents honest evaluation and critical self-improvement. Their willingness to stay a student, even at the highest levels of success, is what keeps them adaptable in rapidly changing environments. Billionaires also practice strategic learning through experience. They learn by doing, by failing, by experimenting, and by iterating. They are not afraid to step into unfamiliar territory because they know discomfort is a signal of growth. They analyze their mistakes with honesty, extracting lessons without ego or blame. Every failure becomes a blueprint for future success. They treat setbacks as data points rather than emotional blows, which is why their learning curve is so steep. While others hide from failure, they study it, refine their approach, and return stronger, wiser, and more capable. Their emotional mastery enhances their ability to learn quickly and accurately. When emotions are under control, feedback becomes easier to accept. Criticism becomes useful instead of painful. Obstacles become challenges instead of threats. Their mind remains open, flexible, and ready to evolve. This synergy between emotional intelligence and strategic learning allows billionaires to see opportunities before others do, because their thinking is not clouded by pride, fear, or biases. Another strength in their emotional and learning strategy is their ability to detach from outcomes. They focus deeply on the process, the quality of decisions, and the strength of execution, but they do not cling to results with desperation. This detachment reduces anxiety and increases clarity. They can walk away from deals that don't align with their long-term goals because they are not emotionally dependent on the outcome. They can pivot quickly when conditions change because their identity is not tied to any single plan. This fluidity allows them to stay ahead in dynamic environments where rigid thinking fails. Their emotional mastery also fuels discipline. It becomes easier to maintain routines, stay consistent, and resist distractions when emotions are stable. They can delay gratification because they are not driven by impulse. They can work through difficult tasks without being discouraged by temporary discomfort. Emotional strength becomes the backbone of their productivity, time management, and long-term execution. Many people know what to do but cannot do it consistently because emotions interfere. Billionaires remove that interference by mastering their internal world. Another dimension of their emotional intelligence is their ability to build strong teams. They know that success requires collaboration, and collaboration requires emotional understanding. They recruit people who complement their strengths, challenge their thinking, and help them grow. They create environments where ideas can flow freely without fear. They inspire loyalty not through authority, but through clarity, consistency, and authenticity. People trust them because they are stable, grounded, and emotionally predictable. This trust makes teams more efficient, more creative, and more aligned. Their commitment to strategic learning also helps them anticipate the future. They analyze trends, study emerging technologies, explore shifting consumer behavior, and prepare for changes long before they become obvious. This foresight allows them to position themselves ahead of the curve. While others react to change, billionaires prepare for it. Their learning is not passive. It is targeted, intentional, and future-focused. Ultimately, billionaires excel because they understand a simple truth. The external world can only be mastered when the internal world is mastered first. Emotional strength creates mental clarity, and mental clarity creates powerful decisions. Strategic learning creates new opportunities, and those opportunities open doors that others never see. Their success is not built solely on talent, luck, or resources. It is built on the disciplined mastery of their emotions and the relentless pursuit of knowledge that keeps their judgment sharp and their vision expansive. Billionaires understand on a deep level that their environment, time discipline, and proximity to ambitious thinkers shape the trajectory of their success, and this understanding quietly guides the structure of their daily lives. While most people drift through environments without questioning how those environments influence their mindset, billionaires are intentional architects of every space they occupy. They know that the people around them set the standards for their thinking, their habits, and their expectations of what is possible. They understand that the conversations they participate in either elevate their vision or shrink it. They know that the standards of the group become the standards of the individual. So they choose environments where excellence is normal, ambition is respected, and growth is expected. This deliberate shaping of environment acts like a constant source of momentum in their lives, pushing them forward even on days when motivation feels low. Their physical environment is crafted with equal purpose. They arrange their workspaces to minimize distraction and maximize focus. They remove clutter, unnecessary interruptions, and anything that creates cognitive friction. Their offices are designed as command centers where ideas can flow without obstruction. Their homes support their well-being, rest, and clarity, not chaos. They know that small environmental details, lighting, noise levels, organization, design, impact their mindset and productivity, so they treat their space as a strategic tool rather than an afterthought. When you walk into the homes or offices of highly successful people, you often feel a certain atmosphere, calmness, order, intention. This is not accidental. It is engineered. Beyond physical space, billionaires shape the informational environment they consume. They are careful about the content they allow into their minds. They avoid negativity, pointless debates, and low-value information that scatters attention. Instead, they immerse themselves in books, research, and conversations that stimulate growth. They understand that information is the fuel for judgment, and judgment determines the quality of decisions. They curate their inputs the way an elite athlete curates their diet, choosing only what strengthens their mind and eliminates what weakens it. This discipline protects their mental clarity and supports long-term strategic thinking. Time discipline is another fundamental pillar of their success. Billionaires see time as their rarest and most valuable currency, one they cannot afford to waste. They understand that every minute spent on something unimportant is a minute stolen from something meaningful. They are aggressive about eliminating activities that do not serve their goals. They build routines that align with their highest priorities. They create boundaries around their schedule that protect their energy. They say no far more often than they say yes, not because they are cold or uninterested, but because they understand that every yes is a commitment of time, focus, and mental bandwidth. Saying yes to the wrong things kills momentum. Saying no to the wrong things preserves it. Their mornings are often designed as sacred time. They avoid waking up into chaos. Instead, they wake with intention, often using the early hours to get clarity, think, read, exercise, or plan before the world's noise intrudes. They manage their days with precision, not rigidity. They build space into their schedule for deep work, reflection, and important decisions. They avoid multitasking because they understand it divides the mind. They work in focused intervals, giving full attention to one high-value activity at a time. This concentrated effort produces results that scattered attention never could. Another powerful aspect of their time discipline is their understanding of leverage. Billionaires do not do everything themselves. They delegate tasks that do not require their unique strengths. They hire people who are better than them in specific areas, allowing them to focus on their highest value work. They invest in systems, technology, and talent that extend their time by multiplying their output. This leverage allows them to accomplish what would take others years in a matter of months. It is not because they work more hours, but because they use those hours far more effectively. Their proximity to ambitious thinkers plays an equally significant role in shaping their success. Billionaires intentionally surround themselves with people who think big, move fast, and embody discipline. They choose environments where excellence is the baseline, not the exception. Being around ambitious, forward-thinking individuals creates an upward pull that constantly challenges them to elevate their standards. They seek out mentors who have achieved what they want to accomplish. They collaborate with innovators who bring fresh perspectives. They form partnerships with other high achievers who push their ideas further. In these circles, challenges are seen as puzzles, not problems. Growth is expected. Creativity is normal. Failure is treated as data rather than defeat. Conversations in these environments are different. Instead of gossip or complaints, they revolve around strategy, innovation, opportunity, and vision. This type of dialogue sharpens the mind, strengthens conviction, and broadens perspective. Billionaires know that proximity to powerful thinkers is like standing next to a fire. The closer you are, the warmer you become. Ambition is contagious. Confidence is contagious. Vision is contagious. So they immerse themselves in environments where these qualities thrive. They also protect themselves from environments that drain energy or diminish ambition. They minimize time spent with people who complain, criticize, or operate from scarcity thinking. They distance themselves from negativity because they know it infiltrates the mind and influences decisions. They avoid environments where mediocrity is accepted because those standards slowly become internalized. They choose momentum over comfort, growth over familiarity, and challenge over ease. Another critical aspect of this keynote is that billionaires design their environments to support long-term success, not short-term pleasure. They know that discipline thrives in the right environment and fails in the wrong one. So they remove temptations that pull them off track. They surround themselves with reminders of their goals. They create spaces that support healthy habits and minimize distractions. This environmental design reduces the need for constant willpower because the structure itself pushes them toward better choices. Their approach to environment also reflects their understanding of identity. Successful people know that identity is shaped by surroundings. When you immerse yourself in environments where success is the norm, you begin to adopt the beliefs, habits, and behaviors required to succeed. They intentionally place themselves in rooms where they are challenged to think bigger and stretch beyond their current level. They understand that if they are always the smartest or most successful person in the room, they are in the wrong room. Billionaires also create positive pressure within their environment. They place themselves around people who expect excellence, which pushes them to deliver it. This pressure is not stressful, it is motivating. It keeps them accountable. It keeps their standards high. It keeps their momentum alive. Ultimately, their environment becomes a silent mentor. It shapes their habits without force. It strengthens their discipline without constant effort. It elevates their thinking without them even realizing it. When you combine an intentional environment with disciplined use of time and the influence of ambitious thinkers, you create a life where success becomes the natural outcome of the structure around you. Billionaires understand this deeply, which is why they engineer every part of their world to support the results they seek. Their success is not accidental. It is constructed from the ground up by the environments they choose, the time they protect, and the people they surround themselves with.